Hey, let us talk about mythology again. This time, let us go on a grim journey. There's probably no figure more iconic when you think about death than the Grim Reaper, a skeletal figure dressed in dark robes, wielding a scythe. But where did this creepy image even come from? And why the hell do we associate it with death? Well, let's dive into the history of the Grim Reaper and explore some deities of death from around the world to find out. But as always, before we are getting started, please like this video and subscribe if not done so already. And now, with that being said, let's get started with our grim journey. First off, why does the Grim Reaper look like that? Most of us imagine the Grim Reaper as a man, but in many parts of the world, death has also been portrayed as female. For example, in Spanish, Italian and French art and literature, you will often see female reapers. They range from beautiful and young to old and scary. In medieval England and Germany though, death was seen as an animated skeleton with a scythe, responsible for collecting the souls of the dead. In Poland, death appears as a skeleton too, but it's a female figure dressed in white. By the way, the term Grim Reaper wasn't used until 1847, when it appeared in a book titled The Circle of Human Life. But the image of this spooky figure had been around long before that, especially in the 14th century during the Black Death, which wiped out a third of Europe's population. People needed a way to make sense of all the death and devastation, and that's where the Grim Reaper came in. The skeleton represented death itself. The dark robes? They symbolized the funeral process, particularly religious figures who conducted the ceremonies. And the scythe? Well, that's a tool for cutting crops. So, just like how farmers harvest crops, the Grim Reaper harvests souls at the end of life. Now let us have a few deities. First, Manannán, the guardian of the Otherworld. In Irish mythology, Manannán is the guardian of the Underworld, a mystical realm belonging to gods and the dead, shrouded in mists. This realm is invisible to humans. Manannán navigates this world in his self-steering boat and assigns plots of land to the remaining members of the Tuatha De Danann. Up next we have Santa Muerte and San La Muerte, death's divine representatives in the Americas. The Americas have their own unique depictions of death. In Mexico, for example, Santa Muerte, or Our Lady of Holy Death, has risen to prominence as a celebratory figure of death, often depicted as a skeletal woman in ripened robes. In South American countries, like for example Brazil and Paraguay, San La Muerte, a male skeletal figure, serves as a similar symbol of death, revered by some Catholics, despite controversy from the church. Then we have Baron Samedi and Maman Brigitte, Haitian spirits of life and death. In Haitian voodoo, Baron Samedi is a flamboyant, cigar-smoking, rum-drinking spirit of death. Dressed in a black tailcoat and top hat, he greets the souls of the dead at their graves. His wife, Maman Brigitte, is just as eccentric, with her chili-infused rum and her role as the protector of graves. Together, they are essential figures in the gated family of spirits, overseeing death and the passage to the afterlife. Up next we have some already familiar, Izanagi and Izanami, the creation and separation of life and death. In Japanese mythology, Izanagi and Izanami were originally tasked with creating the first land. After Izanami died, Izanagi journeyed to the Underworld to retrieve her, but fled in horror when he saw her decayed form. He sealed the entrance to the Underworld and effectively creating the separation between life and death. In anger, Izanami vowed to take 1,000 lives daily, but Izanagi promised to give life to 1,500 souls each day, balancing death with life. And of course, when talking about Japanese mythology and death, who would forget the Shinigami, where I will make at another time an entire video dedicated just for the Shinigami. Up next, we have Enma, the judge of souls in the Southeast Asian myths. In Southeast Asian mythology, Enma, also known as Yama in other cultures, is the ruler of the Underworld and the judge of souls. He decides whether a person's sin merit eternal punishment. His red, angry face and towering statue make him a fearsome figure, determining the fates of the dead as they pass through the 10 courts of hell. And then we have Meng, the goddess of forgetfulness. Meng, the goddess of forgetfulness in Chinese mythology, serves the souls ready for reincarnation. The 5-flavor tea, which basically erases their memories of their previous lives. Her soulful story tells of her own inability to reincarnate after the loss of her husband, leading her to help others forget and move on. The next one is also someone we already talked about, Anubis, the guide of souls in Egyptian mythology. Anubis, the jackal-headed god of Egyptian mythology, plays a crucial role in guiding souls to the afterlife. He oversees the mummification process and weighs the hearts of the dead against the feather of Ma'at, determining their worthiness for eternal life. And of course, when talking about Anubis, we also have to talk about Ammit, the devourer of the unworthy. Ammit, the terrifying creature from Egyptian mythology, has the head of a crocodile, the body of a lion, and the hindquarters of a hippopotamus. Her role is simply to devour the hearts of those unworthy of entering the afterlife, condemning them to eternal unrest. And of course, we also have to talk about Osiris, the resurrected king of the Underworld. He, initially the god of agriculture and fertility, became the ruler of the Egyptian Underworld after being killed and dismembered by his own brother, Set. But resurrected by his wife Isis, Osiris now reigns as the judge of the dead. Now, you see, despite the fear of death, many myths and cultures have created gods and spirits to help explain the inevitable. These figures aren't always evil, as they are sometimes being portrayed in popular culture, such as for example in Disney's Hercules, where Hades is being seen as a villain. And they are often seen as necessary guides or gatekeepers, offering peace or punishment, but always representing a crucial part of life's cycle. And with these myths and figures, we see how death is viewed not as an end, but as a transformation, a journey to be guided by gods, spirits, and deities, who provide both comfort and judgment. And seeing all of the connections throughout history and mythology, there might just be more to it. Maybe death is not the end, but just another chapter in the eternal book of our existence. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Venture with me into the shadowy realms of mythology, where hidden connections and forbidden knowledge await. Together, we will uncover the dark secrets that lie beneath the surface of these ancient tales, revealing that there's much more to mythology than mere stories. There are profound truths waiting to be discovered. So, join me on this journey and let's explore the mysteries together. Thanks for watching.